Hi, my name is Caleb Carter,
And my name's Arielle Doobay.
and today we'll be talking about Cancer Alley. Cancer Alley is an 85-mile-long area along the industrial stretch of the Mississippi River, known for the abundance of petroleum plants and abundance of cancer cases. The area holds around 45,000 residents and lies in southeastern Louisiana between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. Traditionally, the area has had a high percentage of low-income African American residents. Traditionally, it was once the site of cornfields and sugarcane plantations and is now home to more than 140 photochemical plants. Once called a chemical corridor, thanks to the many oil refineries and chemical plants present in the area. Today, it ranks as top 10 most polluted areas in the country and four of the nation's super pollutants, one of them being Deca within Cancer Alley, is there.
Cancer Alley is a region surrounding the Mississippi River, ranging from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. And here we just have a picture of various grave sites for many victims of cancer due to living in this area. So, the dark history of Cancer Alley. This all began when residents started noticing that a lot of people were being diagnosed with cancer in about 1987. And by 1988, it became known as Cancer Alley. But the area first began its severe pollution in about 1969 when a company called DuPont opened a plant to manufacture the chemical chloroprene. And by 2015, the plant was sold to another company called Denka. And eventually, the EPA stated that the likelihood of having cancer when you live in the area of these companies is 700 times higher than any other area. The term, this area has been termed a national sacrifice zone in the past because it was cleared out for the plantation of sugarcane and indigo. But petrochemical plants have replaced the area. And by 2002, Louisiana has had the largest number of fellow community members diagnosed with cancer.
In terms of the environmental effects, the chemicals heavily are polluted within the water and air of the area. 50 toxic chemicals are known to circulate the air and the water within the area. One of the more concerning chemicals in the area is chloroprene, which is actually shown to be have a direct linkage to cancer and can cause a high percentage of cancer rates within the nation. Research shows there are higher than normal amounts of lung, stomach, and kidney cancer among certain populations living within Cancer Alley. This also includes rare cancers such as neuroblastoma and ribosarcoma. On top of this, there's a form of environmental racism that poses a serious and disproportionate threat to the employment of several human rights of its largely African American residents, including the right to equality, non-discrimination, the right to life, the right to health, the right to adequate standard of living, and cultural rights. These are some statistics on Cancer Alley. People in low income tracts bore cumulative risk of 12% more than those in high income tracts. Those in black dominant areas are 16% more at risk than white dominant areas. In terms of the chemicals within the area, formaldehyde and benzene were the two largest contributors to these disparities. Within Cancer Alley, the mean cumulative risk was 45.8 million, meaning that 46 individuals out of 1 million could potentially develop cancer over a lifetime exposure to all carcinogenic air toxins within the ambient air. The photo on the bottom left describes a breakdown of what type of pollution is within Cancer Alley. And in terms of all toxins, secondary pollution dominated the most. The graph to the right shows a breakdown of all the main toxins that develop in the air and water within Cancer Alley compared to the US and other areas. And clearly, Cancer Alley has a great abundance of toxins within the air and water. These are more statistics, more focused on the income and racial breakdown within Cancer Alley. On the left, you see low income in the darker colors, and the red meaning prevalence of cancer within the area. And you can see there's a clear correlation with low income and prevalence within the area. And to the right, it's a breakdown of Black dominant and white dominant areas. And clearly, the Black dominant areas have a higher risk of developing cancer within Cancer Alley.
So, in terms of human health effects, as Kaleb said before, we have other cancers, including very rare ones like neuroblastoma, but pollution is also a part of residents' everyday lives. Cancer Alley has been nicknamed Death Alley and Petrochemical America as well, because the chemical corridor has the highest rate of air pollution caused cancer in the United States, nearly 50 times higher than national average. Residents report experiencing other severe health problems, including decreased life expectancy and increased miscarriage rates. It's so bad that a New Orleans doctor described the situation as a massive human experiment in which large quantities of a wide variety of substances have been discharged into the air and water. Pollution is a serious problem in this area, and nearly half of the children surveyed in households living within 1.5 kilometers of the plant regularly suffer from nosebleeds, headaches, or both. Here are also some statistics of the survey I mentioned before. And within this survey, 40% of surveyed residents reported regularly experiencing chest pains, heart palpitations, or both. 30% of surveyed residents experience lethargy, fatigue, most or all of the time. And 40% of residents experience coughing, sneezing, and or hoarse and sore throat most of the time. And over 1/3 of respondents regularly experience skin rash or irritation or just itchy skin. And this is all simply from living where they live. Here we have a map of the country, and it's showing the rates of the risk of cancer throughout the nation. And Louisiana, where Cancer Alley is located, has the most toxic air in America. Now, in terms of social effects, Cancer Alley also has a high amount of negative social effects. As stated before, Cancer Alley is a perfect example of environmental racism. Environmental racism refers to when a society burdens people of color with risks of and harmful effects of environmental policies that otherwise benefit the rest of the country. There's little evidence that communities of color move to sites where toxic waste facilities and landfills are located. It's more so that they are placed there due to the population that lives there and the fact that they won't be able to fend for themselves. Many people who live here also experience, well, of course, they experience cancer in their lifetime. And some of the effects of experiencing cancer for those who survive are lack of self-esteem, negative body image, depression, and loneliness. And going back to the environmental racism, some reasons for this racism are the effects of Jim Crow laws, zoning laws for sure, and the unequal enforcement of environmental laws passed by the federal government. And it's not easy for the people who live here to just get up and leave because many of them have lived here for years, or they just don't have enough money to just pick up all their things and go.
In terms of what has been done today, this has been one of the examples. Many people have had outcries within the issue and feel like they don't have necessarily a voice within the political table. So they've had various demonstrations and marches within Cancer Alley in the hopes that their voice will be heard throughout America and throughout the world. What has been done because of this and various other reasonings? The EPA has worked within DECA and the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality to lower its chloropectane emissions by 85%. Recently, on January 27th, President Biden has signed an executive order regarding environmental justice and specifically cited Cancer Alley as a hard hit area. Since then, he hasn't necessarily had policy and protocol to follow this up. So people are calling on the president to do more on this issue. And because of this, people are continuously marching and outcrying on this issue in the hopes the president and the rest of the government will act upon it.
So, how can this issue be fixed?
One way is to control the emissions of the risk drivers. EPA has been trying to do that with the chloropectane emissions because the lower emissions we have, the less likelihood of cancer forming within Cancer Alley. Focus on the emission sources, including the facilities and mobile sources. So whether this is the factories and plants or even mobile sources, whether it's cars, vehicles, boats, what have you. The third way this can be fixed is prioritizing low income and Black dominant areas. Within Cancer Alley, these two areas are predominantly hit the worst. So by putting focus and giving them a voice, we can actually solve this issue and reach equality within the area in terms of health. The fourth way is meaningful involvement of the citizens in environmental play, like I alluded to earlier. They don't necessarily at the moment have a voice or a say within the political table. So by giving them a share and input within the government, whether it's local, national, they can actually develop change within the area to better improve the lives of the people. And the fifth way is through educating minority groups about the health implications while being in close proximity to these sites through outreach programs and wide education campaigns, because education is one of the best ways of prevention and public health. By doing so, we can stop this at the source while letting people knowing the risk while being at Cancer Alley.
And here are our sources. Thank you for listening.